My name is Mary. Most of you know me as the mother of Jesus. The story that I tell you is Jesus' story, but it is also mine, and it's yours. It began 34 years ago when I discovered that I was pregnant. I remember it well, and the feelings of uncertainty. As I wandered in the fields only with my thoughts, trying to figure out what I would do, I felt on the wind the voice of the divine. I knew that everything would be okay somehow. Then when my child was born, the voice of the divine on the breeze was like angels singing, announcing to the world his birth. This is a story of hope and promise, joy and sorrow, oppression and freedom, life, death, and life beyond death. This past week has been particularly difficult as we walked the road that would lead to his death. As a mother, I stood beside him and I was truly proud of him, but my heart ached as I watched him push the boundaries. His convictions ran deep, and he was committed to the divine will, determined to touch the world in such a way that it would be transformed. He brought light and love and opened doors of possibility, calling all of Earth's children to a new way of life. Such actions, such words, however, brought fear of change and difference. People would need to relinquish power and position and stand side by side to make his dream reality. But it was more than some could take. So tempered flares. In an effort to maintain the status quo, the crowds did the unthinkable. He was arrested, tried, and convicted in a matter of hours. "Crucify him," the mobs cried. I watched as my son was beaten, then made to carry his cross through the streets to Calvary. On that hill, just outside the town, they nailed his hands and his feet and pierced his side, believing that this would be the end. When Joseph of Arimathea took him from the cross and laid him in the tomb, I followed behind and watched as the stone was put in place. In the hours since then, I have cried and screamed and poured out my heart, wondering why. Why would the crowds turn on him after he had touched so many of their lives? Why would people think that killing someone was the right way to deal with a different voice? The last 3 years gone up in smoke, and for what? I could not contain my anguish. This morning, with several of my sisters, we walked again to the tomb. It was dark when we left, and just as we arrived, the sun was rising. That is when it happened. As the darkness began to disappear in the light of a new day, what it revealed was amazing. The stone had been rolled away and the tomb was empty. At first, we thought that someone had come in the night and stolen his body, and again I cried out to God. Then, just as it happened 34 years ago, I could feel the Spirit moving, and on the breath of the wind came a message of hope and promise and new life. He is not here. Hallelujah. And I knew deep in my soul that his dream did not die, and this was not the end, for death cannot contain the Spirit of life. Hallelujah.